And welcome, Rooster Boosters. Mike Marzini. And Mike is in his home for most of the Rooney matches. Give them a shout out up there, Mike.
Yeah, at Excelsior Pub here in Albany. It took a while to get here today because of some snow squalls and some whiteout conditions, but made it, and looking forward to watching a great rugby game today.
It's funny, and I am not in the state of New York. I'm actually deep in the heart of enemy territory in New England and in Massachusetts right now. Can't wait for the match. So I'm kind of nervous, looking over my shoulder for Phil Harris of the Free Jacks fan club. I don't know if he's there looking at me somewhere. I'm just joking. Love Phil. Nice win last night for the Free Jacks. Actually, glad that we had some weeknight rugby on a Friday that we can watch. So I'm glad for that. But let's talk about the match we have in 28 minutes. We are away against a hot ATL team. ATL 2-0, having a big win in week 1 against the OGs, and then having a tight win against a really good NOLA team in NOLA. I think 14-9 was the final last week. It's going to be a tough one for us. ATL has started off where they kind of ended last year as far as being top of the table of the Eastern Conference. With the way they're playing and they've been getting, it's not hard to figure out why. So I'm just going to go through the team sheet that ATL put out real quick, which is full of former Rooney players. Starting with Will Burke at prop, Alex Mahan at hooker, John Sullivan at the other prop, Evan Minturn again, Rooster last year.
Who's he? I've never heard of him.
I never heard of him. Johan Momsen, never heard of that guy either. I think he might have been the forward of the year in the MLR. This guy, Connor Cook, another guy who I don't know. He's a weird guy. Matt Heaton, Ross the Boss Deacon, also starting. Don't know if you ever heard of him before. Roland Gauze, Duncan Van Shelfwick at 10, which their 9-10 combination is deadly. Starting Nolan Tuamaho. Yeah, this is one of those Polynesian names. Tuamohia Loa. There we go. Will Leonard. You heard of that guy before?
Never. It doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah. Ryan Nell, Austin White, and Joaquin De La Vega Mendia. On the bench, Marco Jensen Van Winsberg. Another guy, Jonas Petrakopoulos, who I've never heard of. Lycus Greenwald, Justin Biscon, Connor Key, Ray Hulu, Ryan Reese, and Craig Coleman. They're excited at the Excelsior Pub, and I'm excited for them, Mikey. It's great. Honestly, some people have complained about the fan noise last season. Fuck those people. I really don't care. I'm glad. I'm here to celebrate rugby, so if it's still loud, I'm happy about that.
Exactly. It's always great to celebrate rugby.
So I think the biggest thing ATL has, since last year, I think they've upgraded their defense with guys like Will Leonard, who we know Will is a great tackler. Ryan Nell, great tackler. Joaquin De La Vega Mendia, great tackler. Joaquin is great on the counterattack. So I think we're going to have a tough time, even though Sam Windsor started at 10. I don't know what the weather conditions are in ATL right now. I'm hoping it's not as windy as it was last week in Houston, where Sam really put his, best foot forward is the best way to say it, because of the wind. But I'm hoping we don't get stuffed by a good counterattack. What do you think about ATL, Mike?
Yeah, they definitely improved their defense, which seemed to be like their main issue in those 2 to 3 games they played against us. It was it came down to we just had better offense against their defense. It seems like in that third, in that playoff game, they kind of got their shit together and they figured it out. So it's all a question of if they could, they've been able to build off of that. That playoff win against us. Defense has definitely improved. They brought in definitely a bunch of new guys and better guys to, supplement that defense. And it's gonna be a tough one no matter what. We knew that to begin with.
Yeah, I think this match is really going to be about two things: tackle completions on the initial hit, and field possession. Where they're getting the ball in the field, whether they're doing those 22, 50-meter kicks, things like that. Are they successful at them? We know that rugby in New York has had issues in the past to find a touch sometimes on easy penalties, and that's killed us and killed our offensive stride. But let me go over real quick who we got for Rudy. So starting off, Nick Mayhew, Dylan Fawcett, Chance Wagluski, the same front three we had last week. I'm doing that. Of course, they didn't put it up on a sheet; they did a graphic. Nate Brakely captaining the team, obviously. Charlie Hewitt, the other lock pair. Just do a damn sheet, Rudy. Ben Bonasso, Brendan O'Connor at loose forwards. Kara Pryor playing up in position. Kara came off the bench last week and did provide a spark. I wonder if he's going to provide that same spark straight away. Connor Buckley, again, starting at scrum half. Connor was injured last week with a broken nose, which was, I think, about 17 minutes in the match time. And then we saw Andy Ellis come on as the replacement. And like I mentioned before, Sam Windsor at 10. And it just reset on me because I'm stupid and didn't hit the friggin' ball.
I got it up because of our good friend DJ Coyle Rugby. 11 is Ed Fedow. 12 is Jason Emery. 13 is Fossey. 14 is Andrew Coe, and 15 is Troy Lockyer.
So Troy's getting his time in for the first time this season. I'm very excited about that. And we have Andy on the bench. Well, who's our bench there?
Caleb Geiger is 16. Sack is 17. Wilton is 18. Will Tucker 19. Joe Basser getting the Rooster Booster bump up the starting 23. So we'll count it. Yeah. So he's at 20. Andy Ellis at 21. Jack Heaton at 22 and John Powers at 23. So that rounds.
And I got to be honest, I'm very excited. It's again, I want to say for the third year in a row, our front row replacements could start. You know what I mean? We know why the front three are starting right now in the tough match, but God forbid they got nicked up. God forbid they just didn't have a good week of practice. You could throw in Zach. You could throw in Ken. He'll get in there. He'll get dirty. He's been practicing his throwings and he's got 10 times better at it. So I'm really excited about the front row reserves. And I think it's going to be one up front. I think it's going to be a set piece match, for us. If we dominate the set piece like we had the last two matches, not the third. Well, even the third match, we dominated the set piece and it makes the match offensively. The question I'm going to have is, are we going to be a little more complicated in our backline play? I felt, I guess we're just getting to know each other still a little bit as far as game time play. So Houston didn't really seem to me like there was many switches and many plays being run. We did try to offload a little more, but again, I think a lot of them were ill-timed. Where if you could have just went down and you had support, we would have not had that many turnovers. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm going back to last night in the OGs Free Jacks game, and the OGs did nothing to kind of stifle the Free Jacks defense as far as where the ball was going. They were just running straight. The Free Jacks were faster to the gain line than they were, and the OGs were always on the back foot.
That Free Jack defense was just suffocating. They just they timed it perfectly. They knew where they had to be, and then they got so many tries and points just off of turnovers. Capitalizing on a knock on, capitalizing on a poach, stuff like that. So to get the ball back, and then you had, I forget who it was, but there, a nice chip and chase off of a knock on from a forward, thinking, that he's Dylan Fawcett with a nice little chip and run.
Well, actually, I want to say, I think the kick was off of the fly half. I forgot who was playing fly half, but the chase, I believe, was a forward. A loose forward chasing it and dotting it, I believe. But yeah, it was actually a good play. But a lot of their possession was inside OG's 10-meter line. So it's one of those things where if you can dominate and get the other team a knot in their stomach about your handling errors, it'll cause more handling errors.
I think the other thing that I would love to. I'm going to be looking at the game is, seeing those guys, seeing those old Rooney guys playing for Rattle, seeing, Chance, who used to play for Rattle, now playing for Rugby New York. How do these guys how they're bringing their intensity to the game? Of course, this is, their former team that they're playing against. They want to, stick it to them. I know that I would want to stick it to, if I was traded or, I went to another team, I would want to make sure that, I'm the upgrade. This is the better team. I upgraded on the better team, so that they're really going to want to bring that intensity to how they play. With Chance being front row. Let's talk about that front row battle right there. Evan Minturn, most of the time he's coming off the bench. For Rugby New York. Now he's starting for Rattle, so maybe he's going to be out there with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, saying, "Hey, look, I'm good enough to start. Like, why didn't you do it and try and prove it?"
Absolutely, and I think Will Leonard's going to have that same chip on his shoulder. I mean, he was a starter here at Rooney, and they did not want him back this year. They felt the back line was better without him, unfortunately. So if he's not playing with a chip on his shoulder, then I don't know what's going to make somebody do that. The Tom Brady syndrome of you didn't pick me, and that's just how sports is. That's not to say these guys are bad guys or anything like that. I'm just saying they might play a little bit harder. They might give 115% instead of the usual 110% that they do on the field every day. Same thing with Will Burke and Jonas. This is year 2 with Rattle for them. They were kind of in that faded 2020 season where they were looking to be the future of the forwards there in New York. And then, again, it's new management comes in and philosophies change. So now they're actually getting playing time, Will and Jonas, this season at Rattle. So I wonder, again, if they're going to have a chip on the shoulder actually playing and starting against Rooney. But, talking about our guys, I think the question is, are we going to kick for points in this match? Are points going to come at a premium? And Mike is fucking drinking delicious beer in my face, this motherfucker.
Oh, absolutely. What is this? Jenny Cream.
Nice.
Pride of upstate New York.
Nice. His fiance giving him a beer, my wife sleeping and not helping me with any type of production. Thank you, Brittany. But yeah, no, I think I don't know. Is it going to be one of those matches? This is the problem with the MLR. Season by season, until you get into like week 5 or 6, there's no like barometer on how things are going to turn out. Right? And even sometimes by week 6, you're talking about week 7, and all of a sudden there's a blowout again with 2 teams. Or a very high-scoring game with 2 teams that were averaging those scores. So I think it's either going to go one of 2 ways. This is either going to be a score fest, which is a possibility, or points are going to come at a premium. And at that point, we're going to see Sam Windsor's leg come out, and I think we have the advantage on that. All-time MLR score.
I pulled up the weather, so it looks like it's 53 and sunny right now. Feels like 50 with wind at 12 miles per hour going to the southwest. Not sure how that factors in with the new snake pits, so I'm not sure what the weather is on the ground there, but this is from the Weather Channel right now. So decent, fairly warm with a slight wind. I'm not sure how, like I said, how the stadium is situated. That could be, it could be a nice crosswind across the stadium, or that might be, one team's kicking in the wind, one team's kicking against it.
Absolutely, and the one thing we're not going to have though is what we usually have in Texas in those night games, is because we have the early game, and the weather's not going to change that dramatically. Is the ball should not get wet, and like we talked about last week, a lot of times in these Texas games, it'll be 60 degrees at kickoff time at 5, and then 20 degrees in the second half. Ball to react the same way handling wise, and you see a lot of errors. Where I feel the Texas teams have now know to play with it that way. And it catches some away teams off guard. Luckily, I don't think that's going to happen at Silverback Stadium down there. But again, I think it comes to how dynamic our backs are going to play. I felt like that obviously Eddie had some line breaks, but none of the other backs really had great line breaks. Jason Emery had a couple, but then he had a couple of bad offloads. So I think if we can get guys to continue to try and break the line, I think we'll have a better back. And what it'll do, it'll keep Rattle honest, and then we can push up front. So I don't think we're going to abandon anything as far as our game plan.
I think yes. The key is support. A lot of those mismatched passes from Eddie. I think even Andy Ellis made one too. It was like they were just trying to get that last pass, thinking that someone might be there, just getting like a last ditch kind of champagne rugby kind of pass out there, and it's just being intercepted. So the key, I think, is going to be run. When your player makes a break, run with the player. Don't assume that they're going to they're scoring that try. And yeah, just I think support. And I think you're going to see a lot of pick and go from these forwards today on both sides. It's going to be a real, like we mentioned, it's going to be a real slugfest up front.
Definitely, and I think you're right. I think that was one of the things that kills us every year, believe it or not, is making that extra pass when you don't necessarily need to, and going down and using support. I'm always a fan of there you go, Jason telling you you're exactly right. I'm always a fan of going down if you have the support. So that way it settles your line. There's a difference if there's a mismatch and you're really trying to get that extra pass in because that extra guy will go free. But if you're tight against the out of bounds line, the best defenders the out of bounds line, right? So the touch line. So go down, reset, and go the other way, and then go down, reset, and go the other way. And as long as you're moving forward and getting 5 to 10 meters every so often, you'll get in that zone where that green zone where the promised land is.
Unfortunately, that's not how Kiwis play. We've got a Kiwi-inspired back line. I hope, it takes a while to get used to. It takes a few games to get into that rhythm. Hopefully, the learning curve isn't as steep as it was, last season when, everyone kind of figures out, all right, this is where I need to be. When this person, figuring out how people run, where they run, who likes to break right as compared to break left, to when you're trying to, juke a guy, all that kind of stuff. And so hopefully this is the game that we figured out, because I feel like this is the game that we kind of need to have it figured out if we want to continue with success moving forward.
Absolutely. We got a strong Dallas team playing in Dallas, I believe. I think it's their second home match, so we're not getting them on the home opener. And then we have a really hot trot Flapjacks team coming into New York to play us for our home opener. So we really need to figure out those things now, so that way going into those matches, we're not lacking in anything. But real quick, give me your score prediction and your man of the match prediction.
Ooh, I said Rooney by 3. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think right now it's coming down to defense. And like I said last week, I think everyone kind of stepped up on defense. Guys that weren't necessarily playing great defense last season played a lot better defense going into last week's game against Houston. So I'm saying Rooney by 3. It's going to be a close-scoring game reminiscent of that playoff game. So I don't know if either team is going to get to 20 points. Maybe not even 15 points.
And man of the match prediction?
Ooh. I am going to go with my man of the match as Ben Benasso. I see Jason put Brakely
Jason's going Brakely, and he's going Rooney by 1. I'm going Rooney by 1, which is in my Super Brew. I'm going to say the Butcher comes in hot with a couple tries. I think maybe Butcher man of the match is
I was gonna say Brakely purely on his defense, but I think Ben had those breaks last week in those games. In that game, he just didn't get the opportunity. He had to try taking a back from him. He had that offload to oh my god. Why am I blanking on the name?
What position?
For that try that was the try that was disallowed for an obstruction.
Who scored that one? I forgot who scored that one. Yeah,
yeah. So, God damn it, it's gonna haunt me now. But yeah, so I think he's coming off. I think he had a good game last week. He's gonna, it's only gonna improve. Hopefully, he doesn't get screwed over twice. And,
a ridiculous card with no warning. That was unbelievable. And then that tried being taken away was unbelievable as well.
Pago, there we go.
Pago Heine. And by the way, go check out at Rugby New York for the Pago and Chango show. Pago Heine and Chance Wengluski are having a little show there on the Instagram every so often. Check out our Instagram and our social media. They're definitely beefing up a lot of stuff. Really appreciate it. So yeah, I'm saying Rooney by 1. Man of the match is the Butcher. He's going to come through. And guys, we're about 9 minutes away from kickoff, so we really appreciate you. We're hoping to to go 2-0 here for the season. I think it's going to be a fun match to watch. And I'm the big guy, Scott Farrar. That's Mike the Grand Poobah Parazzini. For all the rest of you Rooster Boosters, we're signing off. Enjoy the match. We'll see you.